Students, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Clearly.
Okay, I'll begin from where I had left off yesterday. We were discussing using information system as competitive advantage, right? We were discussing using information system as a competitive advantage. And on that basis, we referred to Porter's model, who talked about 5 threats. And to remove those threats, we were using 5 different strategies, they being cost leadership, focus differentiation, innovation, growth and alliance, or a combination of these. So each of these strategies could be used exclusively, and they are mutually exclusive. But at the same time, if we desire, we can combine them and use them. More of innovation, less of cost leadership, and vice versa. With respect to cost leadership, we talked about online trading, online ordering system. We took the example of Dell Direct, and also of eBay, Dell Direct, wherein the manufacturer benefited by not having any carrying stock of goods or finished goods, and the customer benefited by getting goods as per his choice. Like we took an example of say a monitor of Dell, a motherboard of Intel, and so on, a keyboard of Logitech, and so on. So he would give his specification and it would be manufactured accordingly. So eBay.com was another example that we took, which was a case of online auctioning, wherein all the hassles of online activity is removed, of getting the machine or equipment to be put on display, which is to be put on auction, then customers reaching there at the auction time, the seller also being there. And so this removed the barriers of time, it removed the barriers of distance. So on an online auctioning, you could reach to any customer placed anywhere as per his convenience, and there was no hectic activity, or the cost involved in setting up the site where the auction would take place also were removed. So you could auction, you could bid from any time, at any time, from anywhere. You could bid on 2 different sites, which was not possible. And this is how eBay.com became a market leader. Then in case of focus differentiation, we took example of, I think, Citibank and ATM. They were the first to use technology in their way, to their benefit. And they set up ATM machines across New York, different places in New York, like near a bank, outside a mall, or at a bus stop, wherein a person would wait, or wherein a person would would feel the need for cash. And therefore, they used technology to their benefit. They became a market leader. They could garner market share, and which others found it costly to imitate, time-consuming to imitate, and technologically superior to imitate. Now, we took another example of, I think, Charles Schwab, and we were discussing that in an online discount stock trading system, wherein he could do his own. In an offline, he is more dependent on the trader on whom he's relying for his sell or buy option. So he would need to place an order to the trader to sell for him or to buy stocks for him. And it was a tedious and a costly and time-consuming affair. And in this case, in an online trading, you could eliminate the middlemen. Therefore it works out to be cheaper and a faster method. We were here discussing this, wherein we discuss the benefit that you get. You can do your own market research. You can decide to sell and buy at your own convenience, and then at your own convenience. It would be a cheaper method, a faster method as well. Now, how does online trading work? This is what we were to discuss yesterday. So when one buys a stock or sells a stock through an online trading, his order gets executed within seconds without him even be knowing. But within these seconds, many other operations which take place, of which he is not aware. In an offline mode, what he had to do is he had to give an order to sell stocks or to buy stock through the trader. Now he does it automatically, and many other activities get executed without him being aware of. So when one buys or sells a stock through online trading, His orders get executed within seconds. And within these seconds, many operations takes place, of which he is many a time not aware of, such as his order gets registered and his order gets placed in a database. It gets registered and his order gets placed in a database. Now it searches for a seller who wants to buy stock at this price, and when the buyer and the seller is matched, does this transaction get executed? So when he gives a sell option, his quote gets registered, and it searches for a seller. Automatically, there's a search for a seller who's willing to buy this. When both the buyer and seller is matched, when he wants to buy a stock, it search for a seller at this price. When both the buyer and the sellers matched, a confirmation message is sent to both the parties, and the order and the price are also reported to the regulatory authorities. This is how it operates. Now, the regulatory body overtake all the trading activities, and they are displayed to all the investors as to who has invested what. The trading records get stored in the database. In case regulatory authorities want to study your past transaction, a contract is sent to the broker who sold shares and the broker who bought them. And the brokers have a 3 days time to exchange cash and shares, and this is called the settlement, when actually the payment the payment and the receipt gets executed. So this is how online trading works. Now we can take another example of innovation, which is that of FedEx, Federal Express. It's online package and flight management system, package tracking and flight management system. Now, in this system, what Federal Express did is how it innovated and how it used technology to their benefit. It had a huge database of consumers, customers, or clients, whatever term you use for it, and Federal Express identified 20,000 best customers. Now, how did it identify these 20,000 best customers? How did it select these 20,000 best customers? It selected by seeing the time period for which they have been my customer. So it ranked the time period, 2 years, 7 years, 4 years, whatever they might be. So it ranked 20,000 best customers on the basis of the time period and also on the basis of the volume of business. So how long he has been my customer, he has been my client, and what is the volume of business given by him to me. So based on these two parameters, it ranked its 20,000 topmost customers. To these 20,000 topmost customers, it presented a FedEx free PC. So it presented a PC and a FedEx ship software. The benefit of this was that using the software from his office, the client from his office or the client from his home could connect to the headquarters in Memphis in USA, and it could track the status of its parcel. How long would the parcel take to reach? How long would the consignment take to reach my customer? So if I'm sending from one place to another, it is important for me that my product gets delivered to the customer at the time that he wants it, on the day that he wants it. So using this software, it was possible for the customer, for the client, to track his consignment and to ensure whether the product gets delivered to the customer on time or not. So what it did is it mined the customer database to identify 20,000 best customers, and it used two parameters: the time period, that is how long he has been my customer, and the volume of business given by the customer to me. And on this basis, it identified 20,000 best customers and gave them a PC and a FedEx ship software using which they could connect to the headquarters in Memphis and see the status of his parcel. Thereby, it was able to convert these customers into very loyal customers. So these customers would not deflect. They would not go to any other company. So they would send their consignment only through FedEx. Now to the next 20,000 best customers, that is 20,001, 20,002 and so on, it gifted only the ship software using their own PC in their office or their home, they could track their parcel and find out whether the consignment would reach the customer or not. So in this way, they innovated, they used innovation as a strategy to convert the customers into loyal customers. Now we have this. The last strategy which is left is growth strategy. Now, using growth as a strategy. So we've discussed cost leadership, focus differentiation, innovation, and now moving on to growth. Using growth as a strategy, companies can use information technology to manage their regional and global business expansion. They can use information technology to diversify and integrate on other products and services as well, so that they become a market leader. We have many examples. Citicorp's global internet business benefit was increase in market share. We can take the example of Walmart. Merchandise ordering. They used merchandise ordering in order to promote growth. The benefit was market leadership. Again, for Toy R Us, they used point of sale inventory tracking in order to track inventory better, and the business benefit again was market leadership. Now let us take the case of Walmart, which uses growth as a strategy. Basically, for their own products, they use merchandise ordering by global satellite network. They basically linked all the distributors with the retailers, and on distributors serving 19 to 20 retailers. Single distributor was serving more than 19 to 20 retailers. At the retailer end, they use point of sale to track products. So the scanner would scan the item being sold, whether it's a tea being sold, a soap being sold, a shampoo being sold. What is the item? An electronic gadget being sold. What is the item which is being sold to their outlet? So they used point of sale in order to track which is the item being sold. Not only the item, like a tea or a coffee or a soap or a shampoo or an electronic good, but also what is the brand being sold, whether it's Lipton Taza, whether it's Tata, whether it's Tata Premium. So it tried to track the brand and also the SKU of the brand. SKU means the stock keeping unit. What is the size? So it could be a half a kg pack being sold. It could be a 1 kg pack being sold. It could even be the sachets being sold. So if you stock, say a 5 kg soap or detergent in a outlet which is close to a hostel premises, they would not sell, because hostelers would look for sachets. So you have to know from which retail center, which is the item which is being sold across the counter. So which product, which brand, and also what is the SKU which became important. So it was important for the distributor to know that to retailer one, I don't need to send 5 kg packs. So if it says Surf Excel is out of stock, I have to find out Surf Excel in what size. So what is the SKU? So it is not only the product, but also the brand. Not only the brand, but also the size, which we call stock keeping unit, which is being which is being kept by the particular retailer, and which needs to be replenished. So in this way, when they were able to track the events or the sale of products, brands, and even SKUs which were being sold, they were able to accurately ascertain what is the item which needs to be replenished at which retail center. So on a daily basis, they were keeping count of what needs to be replenished, and on a daily basis, they started replenishing. So instead of products being replenished on a 7-day cycle, which they were following earlier, wherein every Monday morning, trucks would leave from the distributors end to the retailers. Now every day, every evening, instead of every Monday morning, every morning from the distributor end, trucks would move to the retailer's end to replenish stock at different retail places, retailer centers. So from a 7-day replenishment cycle, they moved to a 1 day replenishment cycle. So there was a hectic activity at the distributor end. There was hectic activity even at the retailer ends at the day on a daily basis. But the advantage at the retailer end was it needed to carry stock just for 1 day. So the carrying stock earlier was for 7 days. Now the carrying stock reduced to 1 day. So carrying stock drastically came down, and this reduction in cost, carrying cost at the retailer level, was passed to the consumer in the form of lower prices. So whatever saving each retailer made in the form of reduction in carrying cost, they passed on this savings by reducing the prices at which they were selling. They had marked their goods. So this way they became the lowest cost provider. Now warehouses also, there was hectic activity. So at the warehouses are basically stocking centers. They stock goods for a week or for a month, waiting for the distributor to ask for goods. So even at the warehouses, there was movement. Warehouses were getting stock from various suppliers, like garment suppliers, Marks and Spencer sending to them, or P&G sending their products to Procter and Gamble, sending their products to the warehouses. So the suppliers of the warehouses, they would supply maybe in a month's time. But just because there was more movement at the retailer end, there was replenishment on a daily cycle, even there would be replenishment at the distributor end increased. So warehouses also, which would stock goods maybe for a month and wait for an order to be received from the distributor, now needed to stock goods for a shorter time period. So from warehousing centers, they became cross-docking centers. Cross-docking means many trucks come, some getting garments, one truck from a supplier of garments, one truck P&G sending some goods coming from P&G, a third truck coming from somewhere getting electronic goods. They were all dumped in the warehouse and kept for a month or a week. Now, as and when the trucks would come, they would be offloaded at the warehouses, but they would be onloaded into newer trucks which would be leaving for the different retail centers. So the new truck would form a consignment for retailer 1. The new truck would form consignment for retailer 2. So instead of being stocking centers, these became cross-docking centers. The warehouses became cross-docking centers. So they were a central place where the goods were offloaded from certain trucks, then they were onloaded to form consignment for individual retailers. So trucks loaded with goods from suppliers were received here at the warehouse, and they were unloaded into newer trucks to form consignment for individual retailers. So trucks would be coming from garment manufacturer, from grocery, from electronic garments, equipments, and so on, and they would be unloaded and leave for the retailer. Carrying cost here are also reduced. So you can see carrying cost at the retailer end reduced, carrying cost at the distributor end reduced, carrying cost at the warehousing end reduced. So there was a carrying cost reduction all across the supply chain. And again, this got passed on to the consumers. Then people were released even in the they were released in the in the retail centers, because now we need not need people to do the forecasting or to keep track of which order has to be placed. So ordering system became automated because your sale tracking system got automated. So if there were people who were earlier associated with compiling of purchase orders, they were released. And when human resources were released at the retail centers, they were employed for other work. They became greeters. They would be at the door, they would open the door, welcome the customer. They became salesmen. So they would assist the customer in searching for a particular product. They would assist the customer in helping him purchase a product. When he's confused between 2 or 3 items, he would advise as to what to do. They initiated what is today we call a CRM exercise. Today, what we call a customer relationship exercise. Now, these are the benefits that we got by Walmart, and their sale increased. So, how did we start? They firstly linked their retail centers with the distribution centers, and thereby they could track not only the product being sold but also the brand being sold. So if you're talking about tea, whether it's Taj, Taj Mahal tea which is selling, or whether it's Lipton, whether it's Tata, whether it's Tata Premium, we know the brand, and also the SKU, that is the size of the item being sold. So distributor could see the sale as and when it is taking place. So he could accurately ascertain as to how much of which quantity needs to be replenished to which retailer shelf. In this way, earlier trucks would leave from the distributor end every Monday morning. Now they started leaving every day morning to replenish stock at the retailer level. So the retailer earlier would hold goods for 7 days. So his carrying cost was for 7 days. Now his carrying cost reduced to a 1 day cost. So the cost at the retailer end reduced. Even at the warehouse center, they became the function of the warehouse, the role of the warehouse changed from stocking centers. From stocking centers, they became cross-stocking centers. So trucks would come from garment manufacturer, grocery manufacturer, electronic manufacturer, and they would come and form consignment for individual retailers. So there was reduction in cost, carrying cost at the distributor level. There was reduction in carrying cost even at the warehousing level. So the carrying cost at the entire supply chain reduced. At the retail center, there were more people associated with compilation of order to be placed. Now, these people got released because ordering became online. As a result of which, human resource was released. The human resource released became greeters. They would open the door when the customer would come in. They became salesmen. They would assist the customer in locating a product. They would assist the customer in selecting a product. Today, what we call a customer relationship management exercise, that's the term that we use today. They started it way back in the late 80s and the early 90s. Now, Walmart also initiated what we call the ESOP, Employee Stock Option Program. In an employee stock option program, the people who work in your own organization, who are your employees, they are given the first chance to purchase the stocks. So when the shares of the company of Walmart are on sale, they're first offered to the employees to purchase. So the employees who purchase, they become shareholders of your own company. So when you're a shareholder of your own company, the benefit is that you become more committed because you want the profitability of your company to rise. So this way, by starting the employee stock option program, Walmart converted its employees into more committed employees. So these are the initiatives taken by Walmart, and it became a market leader of the retail sector. Now we move to the next strategy, which is a strategy of alliance. This is an alliance strategy. Now, in an alliance strategy, you develop partnership. You become partners so that you grow together. So you use information technology to create virtual organizations of business partners. You develop inter-enterprise information systems so that you share information, which is linked by internet and extranet that support strategic business relationship with customers and suppliers. Strategic business relationship may be with your vendors or subcontractors. So developing alliance means you move towards a partnership. Like Walmart developed alliance with its own supplier, P&G, with Procter & Gamble. And they initiated an automated inventory replenishment by the supplier. The business benefit was reduced inventory cost and increased sales. So P&G, the supplier, knew as to which is the item it needs to. It could accurately predict. It was a actual sharing of information not what we call a forecast of information or forecast of what is going to be the future sale. We have other examples like Cisco Virtual Manufacturing Alliance. The business benefit was agile market leadership. Staples and partners, online one-stop shop with partners. The big business benefit was increase in market share. Now we can use other strategic uses, develop inter-enterprise information system whose convenience and efficiency create switching costs, that lock in customers and suppliers, make major investment in IT that build barriers to entry, include IT component in products and services that make substitution of product and product service more difficult. Now, Walmart is a classic case. We just review it. We started with point of sale tracking to identify not only the product, but also the brand, but also the SKU of the brand sold. So they moved from weekly delivery to daily delivery. There was savings in inventory in carrying cost, which was passed on to the customer. There was reduction in carrying cost, not only at the retailer level, but the distributor level, warehouse level, and so on. The function of the warehouse changed. Earlier they were stocking centers, later they became cross-stocking centers. There was savings in warehouse costs too, reduction in carrying cost here. There was savings also in the form of bulk purchases. They could now make more accurate forecasts and they could take benefit of bulk purchases or what we call quantum discounts. If you buy more, you get a higher level of discount on your purchases. There was savings in handling cost and all this reduction in cost. There was reduction in cost all across the supply chain, which was ultimately passed on to the consumers. The staff became free at the retail setup. They became greeters. They became salesmen. How can I help you? Let me help you in locating a product. There were suggestions and selection of product, or what today we call a CRM exercise, customer relationship exercise. Now, in the field of inventory management, they innovated by moving from a push system. Push system is when you stock goods and try to sell it to your consumers. If consumers do not buy, then at the end of the season, you put discount, 10% discount. Still, they do not buy, a 15 to 20% discount. And this way, you try to push your goods to the consumer. They moved from a push system to a pull system, where they could accurately forecast what is the item which is selling and replenish it. So in the inventory management, they moved from a push to a pull system. Then they had an assortment of goods. They were dealing in grocery, garments, electronic goods, books, and so many others. So they created 36 small SBUs. SBUs means strategic business units. Smaller SBUs, strategic business unit. So each one employee was selected to become a head of this particular unit, who would look only after the sale of electronic items. One person would look only after the sale of grocery items. One person would look only after the sale of books. Another person would look only after the sale of, let's say, garments. So each could monitor the sale very accurately. They could monitor as to which is the promotion which is working. And so from a centralized system where they had one head, they had a decentralized system wherein they created 36 SBUs, and each employee was made a head of SBU. So there was a internal competition between the SBUs. So they would want their SBU to generate maximum profits. So in this way, they decentralized. In the management system, they moved from a centralized to a decentralized system, wherein 36 leaders came up, and each leader would look after his own SBU. I am the owner of garments. I am the head of the SBU on electronic items. I am the head of SBU on books. And so I would monitor the sale of this and ensure that it gives you maximum profitability. So this is another innovation that they did. Then it led to better assessment of demand, better assessment of the promotions which are working in which SBU. Then we also talked of ESOP, employee stock option program, in order to make the employees more committed. And also they initiated the EDLP. EDLP is a everyday low pricing, which I think in Big Bazaar we have a Wednesday Bazaar. So in a Wednesday Bazaar, they give you discounts on so many items. so that it increases footfall on Wednesdays. So there's a huge rush on Wednesdays. So retailers try, they innovate in their own ways. Walmart initiated, they were the first to begin the EDLP, everyday low pricing. In a everyday low pricing scheme, what would happen is they would put a discount on books, say 10% off on all the books available. So if a customer goes and he sees there's a discount on books he might purchase, he would do what we call window shopping, look here and there, inspect the other items and leave. But there would be a curiosity in him that, okay, today it was on books. The next day, they would increase the discount on books, say 15% on books, and introduce it on garments, a 10% discount on select garments. So by word of mouth, it would spread that yesterday, when I went to the to Walmart store, I found that there was discount on books, and today it is books and also discount on some of the select garments. So it would increase curiosity among the customers that maybe on a third day the range of garments on discount would increase, or the quantum of discount from 10 could be increased to 20%, or there could be discount now maybe on electronic items as well. So it would increase curiosity among consumers, among the buyers. It would increase the chances of footfall, and the moment footfall increases, there is increased chances of sale. So they innovated in so many ways, and they became a market leader. So we started with point of sale, interlinking a distributor with retailers. There was savings in cost all across the supply chain. Warehouses converted from from stocking center to cross docking center. Then staff was free, so they became greeters. They initiated what today we call a CRM, customer relationship exercise. Then in the inventory management system, they moved from a push to a pull system. When all the retailers were still following a push system, they moved from a centralized to a decentralized system, and then they initiated the ESOP and the EDLP and became market leader forever. So this is competitive advantage, how we can use technology to our benefit. We begin with Porter's model. We try to identify a strategic opportunity using Porter's model. And there are 5 threats Porter talked about. I'm just reviewing. One is threat of new entrants, threat of competitors, threat of substitutive products, threat of bargaining power of suppliers, and threat of bargaining power of customers. To remove these threats, there are 5 strategies proposed: cost leadership, focus differentiation, innovation, growth, and alliance. In cost leadership, we took example of online ordering by Dell Direct and eBay.com online auction. Under focus differentiation, we took example of Avnet Martian, e-commerce supplier, and also Citibank setting up ATM machines across New York. Under innovation, we took up the example of Charles Schwab and Company online discount stock trading system, who initiated this. And under growth, and then we also took an example of Federal Express, which mined its data to identify 20,000 best suppliers, and to them it gave a free PC and FedEx ship software, using which they could connect to the headquarters and track the consignment. Then under growth, we took the example of Walmart and alliance, the alliance of Walmart with Procter & Gamble. And now we can have a combination of these strategies also. So today we are over with a discussion on using information technology to a competitive advantage. Somebody asked for the slides. I will share the slides till this much that I have discussed till today by evening. And we move on to a new topic in the next class, which I think we have a 2 days gap. We have a class, I think, on Friday. Yes, any query any student has can come up. Yes, please be a little louder.
Umar, do you want to go? Yes, ma'am, my query is that you mentioned the point on sale and stock keeping unit in case of Walmart. So, ma'am, these can also be viewed as innovations in the method that they were following for keeping their inventory and keeping their stock, and how they were interacting with their suppliers and their retailers. So you told us about these points under the topic of growth, but it can also be seen as innovation in method. Am I right?
Yeah. Can I know your name?
Arma Bansi.
Okay. Alma, let me tell you, Walmart is a classic case which got an award also, McKinsey Award. This is a case wherein you cannot, isolate, because they were innovators in so many ways. They were innovators in inventory management. All retailers believed in a push system. In a push system, they would purchase grocery items, stock them, wait for the consumers to come and purchase. They would stock maybe garments, and at the end of the season, when they realize that this garment is not selling, or of this size, these colors don't sell, then they would put it on discount, maybe 10% discount, in order to push the products. So this is a push system that most of the retailers follow. Nobody innovated in moving in a retail setup to move from a push to a pull system. So this is innovation for Walmart. There's innovation for Walmart where they realize that they need to link, they need to keep close track of which inventory is selling. So earlier, all the retailers, they stock goods based on forecast. So what has been in the last 3 months or the last month's sale, based on that, they would replenish the stock. And forecasts are after all forecasts. They might not be as accurate as you ascertain them to be. Unlike in online ordering, in an online ordering, when you have connected the retailers with the distributor knows exactly which item is being sold. It says the wordings are, it's like having it's visually seeing which product is actually crossing the scanner, okay, which is moving across the scanner. So this kind of a visibility was given to all the distributors. So since the distributors knew exactly that retailer one, like I talked about sachets, they would be sold close to a retail setup, which is closer to hostel rather than a 5 kg pack. 5 kg pack would sell in a retail setup, which is close to, say, residence, okay, where families reside. So they would have a tendency of going in for large packs. So you need to know not only the product, you also need to know the brand. You need to know not only the brand, but also the SKU. So the accuracy was to the maximum, and thereby, they could supply the right product. So they were innovated in so many ways. If you remember, I think I showed you a few slides on this. Yeah, you can see one was, I think, somewhere here. I showed you one slide which talked only about Walmart system. Yes, point of sale, sale tracking. So that was an innovation. It was an innovation when they linked the distributor with the retailer. That was an innovation. There was an innovation by moving in the inventory system, moving from a pull to a push to a pull system. There was an innovation by releasing the retailers who could become greeters. So the CRM exercise that we talk of was an innovation decades back by Walmart. So you can put it as innovation. See, they innovated in the, EDLP, which today we call Wednesday Bazaar or Friday Bazaar for different retail setup. That was an innovation by them decades back. So, but they used technology. The starting point was that they were willing to invest in technology. Capital cost was initiated at their end to create a linkage of every distributor with the retailer. Right? So they invested in technology. So this is a prominent case wherein it figures in everywhere and it became a market leader. It is a strategy of cost leadership also, because they became the lowest cost provider of goods. So if I'm getting my goods at a cheaper rate at Big Bazaar, I would not like to go to some other shop, some other retail center. So they became the lowest cost provider because they were able to reduce the cost at every entity in the supply chain. They could reduce the cost at the supplier end, they could reduce the cost at the PNG end, Procter and Gamble end, supplier end. They could reduce the cost at the warehousing end. They could reduce the cost at the distributor end. They could reduce the cost at the retailer end. So there was reduction in cost all across the supply chain, and there was substantial, therefore, reduction in the price at which they were selling their goods as compared to this price at the other retailers were selling. So it's a case of innovation. It could be an example of cost leadership. It could be an example of innovation. It could be a example for growth that they used these strategies. It could be an example of alliance. So, it created alliance with many of its suppliers, like PNG being one.
Yes, so, ma'am, conclusively, it could be said that it used an amalgamation of various strategies.
Yes. Yeah, I've taken it under growth. It could be a strategy for alliance. It could be a strategy of innovation. It could be a strategy for cost leadership as well.
Okay.
Yes. Any other question?
Ma'am, can I ask a question, ma'am?
Yes, I'm waiting.
Ma'am, what happened at that this docking station, cross docking station you have discussed in your PPT? So there means whatever goods which has been received from the manufacturer, it is stacked again and then forwarded to the retail shop, or what happened there?
Exactly. Now what used to happen earlier? Warehousing center is a stocking center. It's a storage, you can say. So what would happen earlier? PNG would send, say, grocery items to warehouse, Walmart's warehouse. So they would dump it for a month. Then, say, Marks and Spencer would send garments, and the garments would come from this supplier, and they would be dumped here, kept on racks for months. Similarly, somebody would be sending electronic items, and they would be assembled and stocked here at the warehouse for, say, a month. Now there is movement at the retail center. There is movement at the distributor center. So these warehouses cannot stock goods anymore for a month or for a week. So what would happen is, individually one truck coming from PNG carrying, say, carrying staples would reach warehouse, Walmart's warehouse. Similarly, garments, so a truck containing only garments would come from, say, Marks and Spencer and come to the warehouse. Similarly, some seller of electronic items would be sending electronic goods, and so the entire truck would be of electronic goods which will reach the warehouse. Earlier, they would be stocked here, stored here for, say, a week. Now, here, when it comes, leave these 3 trucks. There is a truck waiting on the other side. So let's assume that there are 2 doors. From one door, these trucks enter and they offload all the electronic items in the warehouse. Similarly, garments get offloaded. So they are taken off the trucks and offloaded put on the shelves at the warehouse. Similarly, PNG's stuff comes in the truck, in one truck, and they're offloaded here in the warehouse. So this is the one entry, say, in, a door which says in. Another door which says out, there are 3 trucks waiting, or say 7 trucks waiting, or 19 trucks waiting. To form consignment for retailer 1, maybe in New York, retailer 2, somewhere in some other suburb, retailer 3, and so on. So when they're offloaded, some items from the PNG's of what was offloaded are placed in retailer 1. A large amount of garments get placed in truck 1. A smaller amount of electronic goods are placed in truck 1. So on the outer side, there are, say, 19 trucks waiting for 19 retail centers. So truck 1, truck 2, truck 3, truck 4. So they form consignment. When it is into the warehouse, they were from different suppliers, PNG, from Marks and Spencer's, only garments, some electronic manufacturer, only electronic goods, some publisher sending only books. But here it forms the trucks on which it is onloaded has a little garment, has little electronic goods, great amount of grocery items, and so on, a small amount of books, and they are dispatched. So they form consignment as per the order of each retailer. You get my point? For some, the grocery items might be huge, the books might be less, many more electronic items might be there, a very few garments might be in order. For retailer too, there might be more of order of garments, less of electronic goods, more of grocery items, and so on. So then what happens? The role of the warehouse was earlier to store goods, maybe for a week or 10 days. Now they became cross-docking center. Cross-dock means offloaded and onloaded. So it becomes cross-docking center, just like a train. What do? There's a junction. At that junction, you move on to another connecting train. So it is like a connecting truck. So it gets goods to put you on a connecting truck, which will take consignment for an individual retailer. So you visualize something like a junction where there are from like Delhi, from Aligarh, you don't have connectivity to every city of India. So you go to Delhi. So from Delhi, you hop on the right train, which takes you maybe to Calcutta or to any other place, Chennai, where they're looking forward to, where you want to go, going to a particular destination, or the flights. So you have a particular junction. So it works like a changing station or a junction, which moves you. So the goods are no more stocked, they're no more stored. They become cross-docking centers. Am I clear? Yes, who was it who asked question? Could I get across to you?
Ma'am, you're clear. I got my answer.
Could I answer your question?
I want to ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can ask. Please do.
Ma'am, as you said about Michael Porter, sir, he said that he gave competition with the best syndrome. If all the details in the market did the same as he did,